Ngā mihi nui ki koutou tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you, Kat, for your introduction. I am going to talk to you about Steer Clear, this program. I wanted to briefly, you've heard about Innovate Change and who I am. This program is not developed by me on my own. In fact, a lot of what I'm going to be talking to you about today is the large number of people who have been involved in developing it. But there's three organisational partners that have brought this to a reality. The Drug Foundation, who you all know very well, and Curative. Curative is a creative agency, so a little bit like a small boutique advertising and communications agency, but with a really critical difference, in that they only work to make the world better. So they only work for social good, and together Innovate Change and Curative are partner organisations. We live together in the same space, and we're both social businesses, which means we work for social profit rather than financial profit. So I'll start by talking about the challenge which we were given by the Drug Foundation. I want to see if we can get this to work. Where do I point this? Anywhere. The other way. Yeah. Got it. So Ross gave us the challenge. That's actually a challenge that most of us in the room share, I think. Our challenge was very much related to New Zealand, which differs from some of you in the room. And Ross and the Drug Foundation colleagues asked us to come and help them think about how we could reduce drug-related harm, and they were interested in including a social marketing approach potentially in that response. And so this is what we did. This process is the first 4 stages of a 7-stage process called the Innovative Action Model. As was referred to in the intro, we're a social innovation agency, and this is the first 4 stages of a social innovation process. If you were working with other social innovation agencies, they would follow something probably quite similar. So we started with going really big and wide, questioning what is it we already know, looking at the evidence we know. We've heard quite a bit of that in the last day. Much of what has been shared would have been evidence that we had on the table. And we also looked at who we knew, and so we gathered a group of what we call co-designers to help us co-create a plan to reduce drug-related driving harm. We then went deep, so went small into an understanding phase, using all of that information and those people to answer 2 really important questions, and they are: what is the behaviour change we want to see, and who is it we want to make that behaviour change? So understanding our target audience and the change we wanted them to make, we went big again into a designing phase using brainstorming and iterative processes, including our innovation injection session, to generate a whole huge bunch of ideas on how we might reach those behaviour change goals. And then we went kind of focused again into a refining stage to assess those and choose the very best of them. And that created a plan. And I'm not going to talk through all of this, and this is available on our website. But essentially, this is the plan that we developed through that process. And where we are now is the implementation of this plan. What this is a behaviour change plan. It's not a public education campaign. And there's been quite a bit of discussion about public education and large sort of campaigns in the past few days, and they certainly have their place, but this is not what this is. It is social marketing, and there's some kind of important differences. Public education and social marketing are confused often, and there's some important differences that I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about, because it's my view, I've worked in public health for 20 years, that social marketing has got some really significant power when it's done well. It focuses on behaviour change as opposed to improving knowledge or raising awareness. It focuses on selling as opposed to telling. It's audience focused, whereas public education is usually subject matter focused. And it's focused on what our audience would take out, as opposed to what the organisation or the expert wants to put in. And in that way, it's focused on evidence that's consumer and user driven, as opposed to academic research. It doesn't mean they're completely opposed. Obviously, we use a lot of academic research to inform this program, but the development of the program is very much focused on this target audience. And so what I'm talking about today a lot is how that target audience has become involved. So the target audience is young people, 16 to 24 years old, who use cannabis. That's half of young people in that age cohort in New Zealand, so it's a large group. Segments of young men in that cohort, and 16 to 18-year-olds who are learning to drive. 2 key behaviour change goals, pretty simple: increasing the number of young people who stop their friends from driving following cannabis use, and increasing the number of young people who who get their mates to not use following cannabis use. Before we started, and way before Steer Clear became a reality, we developed an evaluation framework. 3 key bits of the evaluation framework, and this will tell us, we hope, what impact we've had. We can't tell you that now. I'm going to share a little bit of what we've done, but this is a very new program. Behavioural surveillance, a really critical part of testing any behaviour change. Test what the behaviour is before you start, and then at some point in the future. We did a large baseline survey of the target audience of over 3,000 young people recruited through social media. We'll visit them again at some later stage when we want to continue the evaluative process, and we'll be looking for some correlation between their exposure to Steer Clear and their behaviour change, or their compliance, if you like, with the behaviour. One-off activity evaluations, we're looking at 3 or 4 of the key activities having one-off specific evaluations related to the behaviour change goals, and practice evaluation, which is a lot again of what we're talking about today, which is the iterative process. It's learning by doing. It's using the data and the insights we gather by doing this program to inform its development. And so co-design. Co-design is a critical part of how we work, and it is about capturing lots of insights, perspectives, and ideas from the people who are going to use the program or service. And these are those young people between 16 and 24 who use cannabis. We started this in a few ways. We did a lot of focus groups with this group, and we've done a lot of surveying with this group. But we also had a couple of advisory groups before Steer Clear was launched, helping us develop the brand and the look and feel and the key elements of the initial part of the program. We didn't think we were getting the best value, or that they were really able to give us all of what they could give. And so we've now moved to the Steer Clear development crew. It's a group of just over 20 young people who are employed by us. They're getting critical work experience, and they're co-creators of the program. So this group in the media studio, they're working with the creative directors. They are making all of the components of the program. And so this is Steer Clear. And I'm going to talk about, well, I was going to talk about the launch, but we've actually got a media clip which we'll talk about a lot better. So we'll start that now. This started in February 2014, so pretty new, and we'll move to that media clip now.
Another music festival is being used to drive home a drug message. A simulator has been set up at Splore to show young New Zealanders what happens when they get behind the wheel while stoned. Matt McLean with the story.
At the Splore Music Festival, and among the rows of tents and portaloos and those dancing like no one's watching, we found a converted compy van.
We've got this awesome van here that's got a simulation in it that shows young people that they should think twice about hopping behind the wheel when they're stoned.
Steer Clear's targeting 16 to 24-year-olds.
Our research shows that a lot of young people think that it's safe to drive while they're high.
That's not the reality though, with stats showing you're 2.5 times more likely to crash if driving high. The risk when you're stoned is said to be a lot higher because of a number of factors, things like bad peripheral vision, poor decision-making skills and slow reaction times. All a dangerous mix when you get behind the wheel.
Oh, slow down, slow down.
So the music festival's the perfect place to launch the campaign, with people jumping into the simulator complete with fake marijuana smoke to see how well they'd drive.
I can't see anything. It was pretty different. Everything felt like it was in slow motion. Yeah, I do think it's really dangerous, and especially after being in there.
I've heard completely the opposite. On tests that I've seen, stoned drivers are actually more cautious, whereas sober drivers tend to be more careless.
It's that kind of thinking the campaign wants to change.
Steer Clear is about increasing the number of young people who choose not to drive after they've smoked, and increasing the number of young people who say, no, I don't want to hop in the car with you when you're high.
A serious message with a creative twist. Matt McLean, One News.
And obviously you can all have that experience if you haven't already without the music festival out the front of the whariwaki here. There's a range of campaign elements, and the simulator is one of them. There is also an online version of the simulator which you can try at steerclear.co.nz. It links off the front page there. We've developed a campaign which was focused on asking the question, would you get in the car with that, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. We're looking at developing more components around helping young people to plan a session and also helping them to think about calculating their risk before they consider driving. We've had conversations as well with the people responsible for driver licensing to see if there's an opportunity to possibly use driver licensing in the process of testing and things as an intervention point. Let me share with you, get in the car with that. Would you get in the car with that?
If glass is made from sand, how come it doesn't shatter into like a beach? Imagine all the sandcastles I can make with a double glazed house. If you're stoned, stay off the road. Drive drug free.
One of the number of the components of the mind-blowing piece of the campaign, which was encouraging people to really think about would they want to get in the car with someone who was so fascinated by certain aspects. Quickly want to talk about how young people have changed what we're doing. This is pretty weird. You're not meant to get it. You're not in the target audience. Some of us don't get it. But what it has been is co-created by young people. It just went live last night, and it's the start of a new piece of work we're doing based on a Facebook app we developed, which is asking young people to tell us about risky drug driving experiences they've either done or heard of. This was bringing to life one of those stories where someone who was incredibly stoned talked about having to driving so stoned, and they were really, really hungry, had a pie, wanted to get the pickles on the pie, were putting the pickles on the pie, ran a red light. There was also some incredibly disturbing stories that have been shared with us and some really serious stories that we are going to bring to life in this way as a point of bringing the discussion. This format is the format that our development crew is telling us, and we can see in the way they're using media, so particularly social media, that resonates with them. It's an old school format that's kind of retro, it's coming back, and it follows that sort of BuzzFeed style. As I said, it's really early stages. I say in terms of social marketing programs, you should be looking at a minimum of 5 years before you start to tell any kind of success story. But you should absolutely be able to kind of count your engagement and have conversations to iterate the program as you go. And this is some of what we can do. This is kind of some of that data we should look at. In terms of practice evaluation, so 650,000 young people have engaged with Steer Clear since it launched in February, so we're well less than a year old. Through a variety of ways, including YouTube views, Facebook engagement, the program being at events, and obviously the real-time and online simulator. To kind of finish up, our key learnings from developing Steer Clear. Planning is really important, and often we see social marketing programs that are poorly planned, and I think we did plan well, but it's important that delivery is really flexible. So in the practice evaluation, so engaging with the data and engaging with young people a lot should allow for that agility. And so we've come up with ideas that were very specific that we've changed as we've gone based on what we're hearing from young people. A key tenet of social innovation and one of our modes of being is that people are the experts in their own lives, and sometimes we forget that because we think we're the experts. And actually, the people who know the most about driving stoned and our target audience are the young people who do it. And it's really important for us that we get genuine participation of them, and that's quite different to consultation. And that they will always tell us what we're doing wrong, and it's a beautiful thing, but we need to be ready to listen. Thank you.